Good morning. Welcome to the 21st century. We're going to do this safety meeting a little different this time. And I wanted to cover visual tree inspection. Now, we've done this a few times. We've covered all these different, you know, things to look for, like let's see here. What do we got? Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Your typical hangers, predominant stems, utility lines, power lines, um, animals like bees, raccoons can be mean, bark discoloration, lean, fruiting bodies, Ganoderma indicates rot. Um, you know, the basics. We've covered that before, but I found a really cool video. And, well, let's just play that video. Um, Friday, I ran into a situation, and this tree had slime flux disease, and we'll cover that after we watch this video. Well, enjoy.
Before any rigging operation, it is important to evaluate the tree for risks. The first person that normally would do this evaluation would be the estimator. They not only need to be evaluating the tree from the risks that it poses to property or liability, but also the risks that work prescribed in the tree may have on the workers or climbers working in the tree. The second people that will be evaluating the tree for risks will be the climber and the work leader or crew leader. These individuals also must evaluate the tree for risks as they pertain to how the work procedures that are prescribed in the tree will impact the tree. We also must keep in mind that the climber ultimately must be comfortable with the risk assessment and must feel that the tree is in fact safe for the work procedures that are prescribed for the tree. And we also must keep in mind that not all trees are climbable. Here we have a tree that clearly has a large cavity in it, a large branch is broken off, we have dead limbs. This is an example of a tree that would be wise to be removed with an aerial lift or a crane. We know that rigging imparts forces on the tree. When we have cavities or structural imperfections, we know that they are weak spots in the tree and may not make the tree safe to climb or to rig from. Here we also have an example of structural imperfections of a tree. We have a fruiting body, several different fruiting bodies in fact. We also have large sections of bark missing, and these are all red flag indicators of problems for structural integrity of the tree and would require or should require a very thorough tree risk assessment to be performed before any work procedure would begin in the tree. Here we have a decay fungus on this tree. When you see this or when this is present on a tree, it is very important to do a more in-depth tree risk assessment. This is an indication of decay. We also have root damage here. This is also a very good entrance point for decay, which again can cause structural imperfections. We also have evidence here of heaving and clearly evidence of some serious lean. This tree here, it would be very wise as part of a tree risk assessment before performing any rigging in this tree to perform a root crown examination, peel back the dirt a little bit, and have a look at how extensive this decay is on this root crown. Now, while it is very important to evaluate the tree for risks at the root flare and the basal area, we must not forget the importance of evaluating the tree for risks up in the canopy. Here we have a large decay column and hollow. This also causes structural imperfections, which directly can have impacts from our rigging systems that we'll be putting in the tree. And we must evaluate the tree from this perspective. How is the rigging or the work being performed in the tree going to have an impact on the structural imperfections that we have already assessed in our tree risk assessment? And I can't reiterate enough, the climber must feel comfortable in the tree risk assessment process that the work they are to perform in the tree will be such that it will not cause problems based on the structural imperfections that the tree is displaying.
So I hope you liked that video. Now, Friday, I was out on a job that is at a undisclosed location. So the tree that we were working on is right here, and there is a wetland, slough, if you will, running through here, and then woods here, a little road, and a very expensive fence that could not be touched. Okay, so it's this tree that we were working on, and it had the beaver damage down there, and you know, it could either go in between the trees here, that direction, or in front of this tree, boom, into the water. But walking up to the tree to look at that damage and everything else that the beaver had caused, I discovered that it had a very large crack and slime flux running probably from like 7 or 8 feet up to about 20, 25. Given that that tree was damaged that way, and the amount of wood that and weight that was still on top of it, I decided not to drop that in one piece because I was afraid it would bog a chair or, you know, fall the wrong direction and cause a whole bunch of problems that I didn't want to deal with. So my second option was to climb it and get about, you know, here-ish and drop the rest of that top right next to the tree, and there's plenty of room there. That fence that we were working next to was a very big no-no to hit. So this was what concerned me. I didn't know how much damage was inside the tree, and I didn't know how compromised the wood would be once I was working on it, and how much pressure I could put on it. So I also didn't want to cut it in half because the weight of that tree would have pushed it, and it would have probably snapped. You can see here, this is the trunk of that tree, and it's probably 18 to 22 inches at the base, and then there's a 7-8 foot section, and then there's all that slime flux disease and the crack that goes further up. Now, I dropped the top, and as you can see, I took a few logs. This is actually a tree that the beaver dropped. Very ambitious little feller, isn't he? So after I got to, you know, where that damage is, and I think this is that last log, I dropped that piece, and you can kind of tell that this crack goes clear to the other side of the tree. And after I threw the top out and threw that section on the ground, that tree split. Now, I figured this was important enough to share. Given that it's cottonwood, you should know that it's not very strong wood to begin with. I took a section back to the shop. It's at the foosball table. But you can see here where that callus growth is, and then you can see the crack itself. And it started affecting the rays, so it's all rotting. You know, the bacteria and everything are just doing its job and starting to decay. But after I threw that last log off the top, this piece cracked all the way through and scared the living shit out of me. So, I got another little video we're gonna watch on slime flux disease, and yeah, just enjoy that, and we'll go over some questions if you have any afterwards. Um, Hopefully, this was informational, and you know, follow the rules, man. Just go by the rules. If it doesn't look right, get a second opinion. All right, with no further ado, video number 2.
This oak tree is exhibiting a fine example of bacterial wet bark, which can lead on to something called slime flux. So this dark stain here represents liquids which are being forced out of the tree under pressure because there's a bacterial infection inside the wood, deep inside the wood, and fermentation is taking place, and that's giving off methane, and the methane pressure as a gas is forcing the liquids, fermentation liquids and other liquids, out of the tree at the point of the greatest weakness. So you can see it oozing here at what appears to be a damage done to the tree in the past, because we have what's called callus growth. That's the growth of the tree trying to repair itself from damage. So it appears to, this whole trunk appears to have been split at some point. There's very little you can do about this condition. Occasions when people have taken a saw to a tree with this sort of condition, maybe a smaller specimen, and the pressure is so great that it's exploded in their face, covering them with this material. Now the slime flux is when in warm weather, because of the sugar content and alcohol content within this exudate, fungi and bacteria grow, sometimes giving wonderful colours. But you should be careful not to touch. Some of them can be harmful.